This is how you build a solid lease in Chicago in 2026. Most Chicago landlords think they're protected because they use a standard template. But here's the cold, hard truth. In the city of Chicago, a single mess up, missing page, or unchecked box can cost you thousands in penalties, sometimes before you even realize you made a mistake. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how to build a bulletproof Chicago lease packet for 2026, including the new mandatory disclosures that just hit the books. But before we get into leasing, make sure you click the link in the description below to get our free rental analysis. This report will let you know what your property's true market value is based on the comparable rentals in your area. Let's get your baseline right before we talk compliance. A compliant Chicago lease packet comes down to 4 specific things. 1, the Chicago Association of Realtors lease template, sometimes referenced as the CAR lease template, the required addendums and disclosures, the exact right order of placement, and then initials or signatures on every single page. I see owners staple everything together and grab one signature at the very end. If a disclosure needs its own signature and it doesn't have it, that signature at the back won't save you. Also, you want to make sure you're having them sign or initial that they actually got the pamphlets that are part of the packet as well too. I want to talk about the month-to-month lease myth. Keeping a tenant month-to-month doesn't give you extra power to remove them. It just gives you less documentation. Whether it's a 6-month lease, a year, get it in writing. That paper trail is your only defense in court. Taking all the different parts of the lease, there's a legal order these documents belong in. As of January 1st, 2026, the lease has a new king. Page 1 has to be the summary of rights for safer homes. This goes on top, no exceptions. It's 4 pages and the tenant must sign every page. Then goes the actual lease. We talked about before using the template for CAR. Use the current year's template. Judges know it, attorneys know it, and it has built-in initials for building code conformance. Your personal addendum. This is where you put your personal addendum that breaks down your specific rules, pet policies, maybe specific cleaning products you need for your house. Then comes the RTL summary. If you skip this, the tenant can terminate the lease and collect $100. Security deposit, interest summary. This needs to go in even if you aren't taking a deposit. You also need to build in the lead-based paint pamphlet, the bed bug disclosure, heat costs, radon disclosure, mold disclosure, and the new 2026 flood disclosure. Build a master template that includes everything, even if it doesn't apply to every unit. Now, you might have a condo that doesn't have the flood disclosure, but if you use that same template for your next single family home and you forget to include that flood disclosure, that could be an issue. So I always tell investors, have one template for everything, and you could always X that out as you're going through. All right, so there's some things that you got to make sure your lease doesn't have. Prohibited clauses or built-in attorney fees. Recently, I had my attorney, Bebek Das, oversee some of this, and one of the things he said was landlords are constantly using ChatGPT or generic online forums to create their own addendums. Chicago has strict liability. There are clauses that the city just will not enforce, even if the tenant signs them. If you try to enforce a jury trial waiver or clause making your tenant pay the attorney fees, or saying your tenant can't leave any negative reviews, you could be liable for 2 months of rent plus attorney fees, non-refundable move-in fees, or security deposit. This is the biggest decision you'll make. Security deposits in Chicago are landmines. One mistake, like holding back $150 for a carpet cleaning without the right documentation, or even having the right documentation, can turn into an $8,000 problem. That's why the non-refundable move-in fee in Chicago has become fairly standard. It's not tenant money. There's no 45-day clock to return. There's no deposit headaches. Just keep it under 50% of 1 month's rent. Anything higher is legally deposited, and you're back in the danger zone. Also keep in mind, a lot of people try to collect last month's rent as a form of hedging their risk. But if you collect rent that is due more than 6 months out, that's legally a security deposit in Chicago. One thing to keep in mind with lease renewals is that's where the real value is, and also the real risk. Your notice of how much time you give a tenant to renew or not renew is super important. So if you have a tenant that's been in your unit less than 6 months, you have to just give the traditional 30 days. If a tenant's been in your place from 6 months to 3 years, you have to give 60-day notice. Now, if you've had a tenant in there for over 3 years, you have to give 120-day notice, meaning you're not going to renew them or you want to increase the rent. You have to give them these specific parameters around how much notice you give them in advance of the expiration. If you give improper notice, the clock resets. Do not use just 1-page renewal addendum either. Think about everything we talked about in this lease and how much is in there. That's changing every single year. So you put yourself at so much risk if you're only having a 1-page addendum. You're missing out on all the new regulations that you should be including. Send a full new lease packet every single year. Laws change every single January. This will ensure that you always have the most current disclosures, sign-offs, and compliance. The crazy part, at the end of the day, relationships are everything. An 80-page lease covers your back, but a good relationship keeps you out of court. We're a phone-first company for a reason. A cold text could be technically right, but land wrong. People respect your property when they respect you. Be responsive, be human, and pick up the phone. Building a compliant lease packet in 2026 is a lot to carry. At GC Realty, we handle this for 1,500 units. So for our owners, they don't have to worry about strict liability mess. Real estate's a team sport. If you're tired of being a landlord and it basically taking all your time up as a second full-time job, or you're concerned about all the risks we're talking about, let's talk. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for our weekly drops, and click that link below to get your free rental analysis today. Talk soon.